Hi, I'm Ashley Popio, and I'm here with the ILC's top 5 reading tips for the summer. So reading tip number 1, diversify your reading. What does this mean? Don't just read the things that your professors have assigned for class. Reading is a skill that improves the more often that you do it. So read things that you love to read, like pulpy vampire fiction or graphic novels. And if you can, find yourself a newspaper that you read every morning when you wake up at least a little bit. So for example, I trust the New York Times and I'm a subscriber, but if you need to have a newspaper that's free and doesn't charge you anything, the Indy that's based right here in Raleigh, North Carolina is a great newspaper to trust and freely available to you. Reading tip number 2, internalize your reading. So what do I mean by internalize it? Students remember things that they've read best when they put it in their own voices or interpret it through their own brains. So here are some of the ways that you can do that. You could draw a picture of the things that you've read about, or you could take notes in your own words. Don't just copy the words that are in the book into your notes. You have to put it in your own words in order to internalize it. Or you can teach the information that you've learned to somebody else by teaching it to someone else. You'll put it in your own words and you'll remember it better. Reading tip number 3, share your reading. So you can find yourself a study buddy in one of your summer classes, and whatever reading you're doing, the two of you can do it together. You can actually read to each other so that you can hear each other read, and that will help you remember the things that you're reading. Or each of you can read passages separately and then quiz each other on the things that you've read. Or each of you can read things separately and then summarize the paragraphs for each other, going back and forth, taking turns. Reading tip number 4, spread your reading out. If you have 4 chapters to read for a unit exam, don't read them all the night before. Not only is that exhausting, you won't remember a lot of what you've read. Instead, if you're supposed to read 1 chapter a week, read half of the chapter on Monday and then sleep on it. And then on Wednesday, read the second half of the chapter. And then on Friday, quiz yourself on the chapter, or draw your pictures about the chapter, or make your notes about the chapter, or otherwise internalize the chapter. And that way, you'll have spread your reading out over several days, and you'll be able to remember it better. Reading tip number 5, listen to your reading. So what do I mean by that? It turns out that there's some technology available these days that will allow you to listen to your reading assignments instead of just seeing them. So if that's something that you know works for you as a student, be sure to take advantage of that. Many online textbooks that Wake Tech assigns have audiobooks that are already attached to the platform. So if you have an online textbook, go looking and see if it has an audiobook that already comes with it. If it doesn't, no big deal. You can copy and paste the text from your online textbook into an online reader like naturalreader.com, and you can choose from a selection of voices of people who will read that text out to you. Or if you have a physical book, you can come on down to the ILC and we'll teach you how to scan it with your phone and copy and paste that text into a natural reader, which will then read it for you. When you're listening to your textbook, you can do other things at the same time, like take your notes, or draw your pictures, or even vacuum your carpet, or drive home from work. Sometimes doing something else at the same time helps you to connect the words that you're listening to with the actions that you're doing, and then later in the test, when you remember your actions, you remember the words. And that brings me to my final tip, which is, of course, come see us at the ILC if you have any questions or worries about reading, and we can help you not just get better at reading, but also find a reading style that works for you. Thanks so much, and we hope to see you at the ILC.